I'm at Ludington State Park and I want to take a hike out to this lighthouse, which is up there. And so trying to figure out on the map and where are the roads that are shown on the map. Well, I'm going to go down a road and see if I get there or see if I get lost. Ooh, here's a clue. A sign with some numbers and arrows on it. I think I know where to go now. And so I'm taking the through the woods route on the way to the lighthouse. I'll probably take this straight down the shoreline on the way back. This is really quite pleasant. There's enough breeze that there aren't any mosquitoes or flies or anything like that. I don't know if you can see that, but it says a nautical historic site. It talks about the lighthouse, built in 1867, steel cladding added in 1900 to 1905. In 1933 they put a road out to it, automated in 68, became property of the state of Michigan in 2003, but it says there's a life-saving station here also, and talks about a shipwreck. I understand the lighthouse was originally put here because they had so many shipwrecks because of sandbars and stuff out there. Okay, yeah, let's see what's over on this side. Oh, more information about the life-saving station from 1876 to 1920. So it must have been out here somewhere. And I see a sign that says something about a shipwreck. I'm going to check it out. Here's a sign that says Coast Guard over the sand dunes and historic shipwreck over the sand dunes. Big Sable Lighthouse to the right. Well, let's take a little detour over the sand dunes and see what we see. See a shipwreck, but I see some old foundations of what looks like it might have been the old life-saving station. This is kind of typical on the shore of Lake Michigan. You can see a bench. It's buried up to the seat in sand, and these dunes move around, and that'll happen. Guess I would not have needed to pack a bottle of water after all. And there's my first glimpse of the lighthouse sticking above the sand dunes. And here is the lighthouse. We get a view of the lighthouse keeper's quarters and then kind of back up, look up to see the tower. And here we have the obligatory sign to tell us what we're looking at. Called Grand Point au Sable by French explorers and traders, Big Sable Point was an important landmark for mariners traveling a treacherous stretch of Lake Michigan shoreline between Big Sable Point and present-day Ludington. In 1855, 12 ships wrecked in that area. Commerce linked to the burgeoning lumber industry required that Big Sable Point be suitably lighted. State Senator Charles Mears pressed the legislature to ask the federal government for a light station at Big Sable. In 1866, the U.S. Congress appropriated $35,000 for a lighthouse, which was built the following year. As the lumbering era waned, steamers carrying coal, foodstuffs, and tourists continued to rely on the lighthouse for navigation. I went inside of the lighthouse building. There's a little gift shop in there. There's a little bit of a museum in there. I paid my $8 to make the climb. I watched a little bit of a video. I left my backpack in a little cubby they had for me, and I left my flip-flops in another little cubby they had for me, and I climbed the tower barefoot. You can either climb it barefoot or wearing some kind of legitimate shoes. You're not allowed to climb it in flip-flops. The lighthouse is staffed by some volunteers, super nice people, super helpful, always just a pleasure to talk with them and deal with them. As I climb up, you'll see that the walls, I don't think I got it right at the bottom, they start out 6 foot thick and then they get thinner and thinner as you go up. And then when I get to the top, I had a little bit of conversation with the volunteer at the top of the lighthouse, and then I'll go outside and we'll get the views. So we'll let you observe that.
Last step is kind of tall.
All right.
Yeah. And then,
Guess I found out about that one.
it's real windy as you go around either side of the tower.
Okay, cool.
Just so you know.
Thank you.
I measured it at 25 miles an hour. I feel it's still safe to be out there, but you're going to feel it.
All righty. When I got back down from climbing the tower, I decided to take the route back to the parking lot going along the beach. And so here's the lighthouse from the beach. And here it is from a little farther down the beach. As I walked down the beach, off in the distance, I thought I was seeing a kite. I thought maybe the people ahead of me were flying a kite. But then as I got closer, I realized that it's a really big kite, and there's a guy out in the water in a wetsuit holding on to it, and this guy is on some kind of a short surfboard type thing with his feet kind of strapped to the board, and he's bouncing around over the waves. And sometimes he would get closer to the shore and I could get a better picture of him, except I never had the camera ready to go when he got close. And he would get airborne and then he'd head back out into the lake, and he seemed to be having a good time. I've seen this at Lake Michigan before. Kind of a cool thing. I don't think I would have the courage and or ambition to do it myself, but it's fun to watch. As long as I'm at Ludington State Park, I drove up here. That is the Hamlin Dam. Of course, it's at one end of Hamlin Lake, which I hope to take my kayak on someday. And then this river goes all the way down to Lake Michigan. I went down this river one time with my daughter on some floaty things, and there were signs about beware of the strong current. We had like no current. And so I thought it was a good place to take young children. Now you do want to get out before it gets to Lake Michigan, because there are all sorts of warnings about rip currents and stuff where it meets Lake Michigan. There's a place to swim in Lake Michigan, but apparently where the mouth of the river is, it's dangerous. So you want to get out of the river before you get there. But yeah, there's Hamlin River. Apparently it's a good place to fish. Coming off from the Hamlin Dam at the end of Hamlin Lake in Ludington State Park. And this is pretty typical. In the state park, there's a sign about there used to be a lumbering town here. If you spend enough time in northern Michigan, you finally say, well, where wasn't there a lumbering town? Very typical thing to see.